One hand or two? Let's talk. What's up? It's your boy John Ashreef, IFBB Promos and Like It Is. Welcome back to the channel. We're here at the Blue Star Nutraceuticals headquarters, and we're going to talk about using one hand versus using two, or better yet, unilateral versus bilateral movements. What's best for you? So without further ado, guys, keep your eyes glued to the screen, your ears glued to the speakers, and let's learn some shit. Okay, so what is a bilateral movement? This is a fancy way of saying using both hands or using both sides, right? I'm using the left and the right at the same time. I'm using both hands at the same time, hitting both sides of my body at the same time. This is a bilateral movement. You guys have done a lot of bilateral movements all the time. It's a fancy way of saying using both sides. Bench press, shoulder press, squatting, deadlifting. Mainly most of the things you've been doing in the gym, you've been using both sides at the same time. Now, great benefits of that, we're able to hit both sides at the same time. We're able to maximize growth at the same time. And then when it comes to finishing the overall set, you're resting at the same time. Now, it may not seem obvious, but some obvious benefits of training bilaterally. My output is a lot more greater. I can push a lot harder. My driving force is that much greater when my entire body or when both sides are working at the same time. Let's take this for instance. I'm doing a row. I'm able to generate more force with both hands. I mean, you can say two heads are better than one, but I'm able to generate more force. I'm able to exert a lot more force, which is gonna in turn break down more muscle. And in the end, I'm gonna be able to build more muscle when working at the same time. So your basics and your main point of why training bilaterally is beneficial in the grand scheme of things is we're just gonna be able to burn more calories, use more energy, break down more muscle all at once at the same time. Okay, so unilateral, using one arm, exactly what I was doing here, doing dumbbell one arm rows. Now, what's the benefit of doing dumbbell one arm rows or doing unilateral work? Well, when we're training, even though doing bilateral work, we're using both sides, there's a little bit of masking going on in the body. As you can see, this side of my body, my bicep is a little bit bigger than this side. Even though I'm right-handed, my left side's it's a tad bigger. And no matter how much I train unilaterally, no matter how much I train bilaterally, one side's gonna do a little bit more compensation than the other. So that's why you do wanna train unilaterally, using one side at a time. It's gonna give you a little more benefit to be able to focus on one side at a time. In this case, I can focus on the one lat, exhaust it, rest, and then do the other side. Now, especially when it comes to imbalances, we can do a lot more focusing on giving that muscle the proper amount of attention it needs to help build that imbalance up. It's also gonna give us a little more balance, core stability. For instance, when I'm doing the dumbbell one arm row, while I'm pulling on one side, this side, my core is active a lot to keep myself in a place of balance, making sure that the weight is distributed throughout my body equally, even though I'm doing one side. You've probably seen some people do one arm dumbbell press at a time. Now, even though they're doing one arm at a time, the side that's being up is actually keeping itself in place to keep it balanced. To make it that much harder, doing a one arm dumbbell press without the arm up is gonna force a lot more core work or core help, creating a lot more core stability. There's a great benefit of doing both. Is one better than the other? No, it's how we program it that makes the biggest difference. So I've had a little bit of a shoulder issue from my football days, and it's created a little bit of havoc in my shoulder. So when I'm training triceps or pressing on this side, there's a point that in my set, I can no longer keep myself in a depressed state in terms of my shoulder being down. So after a while, when I'm doing my reps in the set, as you can see now, it starts to creep up a little bit in my shoulder, and then I can no longer activate my tricep as I need to. When I do the other side, there's not a problem with this at all. So when I'm training this side, when it comes to pressing movements, tricep movements, I can go at least 4 more reps more than the other side. So the benefits of doing unilateral work, I can start with the side that needs the most attention. I can exhaust that out, and then when I hit the other side, sometimes things I do is I don't go as far in terms of reps or even failure. I'll train just enough to be able to activate the muscle so I can make sure that this gets the tension that it needs. When we're doing bilateral movements, it's good because we're gonna hit both sides. But when it comes to unilateral movements, if you're someone like myself who has injuries, I'm ACL deficient, which means that I do not have an ACL in my right knee. I was able to play my entire football career without having to get it repaired. But I didn't take out the fact that I had to continue to make sure that this leg was very strong so it could do what my ACL is supposed to do in terms of keeping my knee in place from this part. So having machines like this, or just even your regular machines at home, splitting things up and making sure we hit one side at a time is gonna give me the ability to focus on this one leg and strengthening it. When it comes to my knee, I want the supporting muscle groups around my knee to get stronger. Because even though they don't have an ACL in this knee, I've been able to squat, deadlift, leg press completely fine. Because again, sometimes doing bilateral work will mask the injury on one side to the next. So it is crucial for me, or even you guys, to make sure that you're programming some unilateral work in your training program so that you can give that one favored side that much attention that it needs, or even both. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing bilateral work. The importance of doing unilateral work is gonna give you that much more attention to have that much greater mind and muscle connection in this muscle group, and we're talking about legs here. I can focus on the quad, the hamstring, the glutes in this exercise without thinking about the side that is already good. And then I'm done this side, I can rest enough, and then go to the next side and give it just that much attention. Now, let's talk about progressive overload. You guys heard me say it 1,000 times. Progressive overload your life. I literally mean that. But in terms of muscle growth, can you progressive overload unilaterally? Of course you can. But you're doing a lot more when you're using both sides of the body at the same time. Obviously because you have, two heads are better than one. You have more strength, more stability, and more of an output. Now, when it comes to progressive overload, it doesn't necessarily always mean that you have to continue to always put a bunch of weight on. My biggest takeaway when it comes to progressive overload, making sure our form is good, our range of motion is consistent, and then starting at a good base of a weight that you can control. You progressive overload the intensity of it. This is only a 45-pound plate. This is fairly manageable for me. Now, I can do this tempo the entire time with the same range of motion, and then when things get that much easier, I can progressive overload this without adding weight. What I can do is I can just emphasize a part of the contraction. I can be more attentive to the negative, or I can be more attentive to the positive, or the pause at the bottom or the pause at the top. I can be here doing a simple 1001, 1002, press, 1001, 1002, or I can do 1001, 1002, 1003, pause, 1001. 1001, 1002, 1003, pause, 1001. Or I can do 1001, 1002, 1003, 1001, 1002, 1003. There's different ways you can progressive overload that doesn't always mean you have to keep adding on weight after weight. Now, if you have like a set of 10 to 15 reps and you have, say, this as your load, and you're hitting the 15 rep range every single time, and you could probably do more, and you've tried a bunch of different types of time under tension. You've increased the time from 30 seconds to 45 seconds, and now you're at the top range of time under tension. That's when you want to add some weight. Now, can I do the same thing unilaterally? I can, but here's the thing. If we're doing a bunch of unilateral work outside of the bilateral work, you're gonna be working out for a very long time, and you're gonna get tired very, very quick. Regardless if you're using one side and resting, you have one heart, and your one heart has to recover every single time. So if I'm doing a set bilaterally, that's one set. If I do a set unilaterally, that's one set, and the other arm is another set. You end up doing double the amount of sets you will be doing if you're doing it bilaterally. And that's where it comes into properly programming unilateral work within your bilateral movements. guys enjoyed the video. And if you're new to the channel, remember, we're not just a YouTube channel that's giving you guys free, amazing training information. We've actually been making amazing, award-winning supplements for like the last 15 years. So for more information about that, guys, hit the link in the description below. And remember, we're pumping out 2 videos every week. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. And you guys know how it is. Iron sharpens iron. Progressive overload your life. In the meantime, keep dream chasing. Peace.